Hi, this is Ron Rogers, and I'm going to tell you about how I screwed up a very nice layover. I didn't screw it up for myself, I screwed it up for a fellow captain friend of mine. I was captain on the trip. And it was a simple error, simple mathematical error that should have been caught numerous times, but wasn't, and it resulted in a bit of a kerfuffle here, or kerfuffle. Yes, one of those. And I'll explain. Okay, we're going on a trip and it's going down to Fort Lauderdale. And it was one of these nice 727 trips back in the day that, you went down out of Chicago to Fort Lauderdale, cold to warm, nice. And you had a very nice layover down at the beach. All right, we get in, we check in the hotel, and I'm looking at my schedule and I say to the crew, well, our pickup time is such and such. I made a slight mistake. I looked at the landing time in Chicago instead of the departure time out of Fort Lauderdale, which was just a difference of several hours. And I calculated a couple hour later pickup time. Nobody in my crew made any mention of it, which is kind of strange. And that was one of the first chances to correct it. Nobody mentioned that I was way off on the time, and I guess they calculated the correct time uh, for the pickup. Now, hey, it's a nice evening. We get there later. It's not really time to go out the beach, but it's time to go out to the beach area and go to the hotels there and have a nice little dinner and a few drinks and stuff like that. So we're out there with the friendly bartenders having a good time. And of course, this is a vacation destination. There's a lot of people around that are just enjoying themselves. I mean, lots of people enjoying themselves. And there's a lot of foreign people there too, because this is a foreign destination shop. Now, anybody who has been to Brighton Beach in England, first of all, you wonder, why do the British call that a beach? I mean, the sand pebbles are rocks this big, you could break your ankle there. And yeah, and some of the other countries, I mean, France with Riviera. Okay, we're not going to talk about them. They have a very nice, very small, but very nice and fun beach type of thing. But anyway, it's very crowded there. But that's when they come to Florida and see these huge, expansive, beautiful sand beaches that they're going, wow, that's really something. But I digress there slightly. But anyway, the point is, a lot of foreign people come to Florida for vacation. And that caused a little bit of a problem. Well, we're sitting there, we're having some drinks, we're having a good time, chatting, beer, a few beers, stuff like that. And my crew is getting a little concerned that, hey, we're getting close to when we have to stop drinking 12 hours before. And I go, no, we got plenty of time. We got plenty of time. But they're a little bit concerned we're getting close. That should have been the first key. I should have resolved, well, why are you guys concerned and I'm not? They just figured the cat must have been some sort of lush or something. I have no idea. But I was getting not concerned about the time, and they were. That should have been the first thing. And now, one other little aspect of this whole event was, they had a lot of foreign people there, and a lot of the foreign people, they don't tip because they assume it's included. So, even though there was just a party of three, myself, co pilot, and second officer, they put an 18% gratuity on there. It was added in. Well, we didn't expect it to party of three, and so we get the bill. And of course, anytime you've had a couple of beers, your math skills aren't the most wonderful. And we gave, I remember, a very nice 25% tip. So we tipped on the tip. And this server was just absolutely elated. And it wasn't until later that I realized, no wonder they were elated. They got a very, very nice tip. I think it ended up, I calculated it ended up being like a 40% tip. So they should have been happy. Okay, next morning I get up, have a nice little breakfast, go down to the beach, and just having a grand old time. Well, and I got plenty of time before my pickup. Everything's fine. And I'm not worried about it. Well, unbeknownst to me, the crew goes to the front desk, turn in their keys. They get ready for the pickup, and I'm not there. Well, they call my room. I don't answer because I'm out on the beach. They're getting very concerned. Okay, this is not good. They call the chief pilot and they say, "Hey, we can't find our captain." And they were becoming very concerned. And the chief pilot says, "Well, you need to call the crew desk." So they called the crew desk and they said, well, captain didn't show up. And the crew said, well, the van's ready to leave. Just go out at the airport. We'll try to figure something on out. Well, they get out to the airport and they're just having no luck finding me. And so they decide, hey, we got to do something. We need a captain for this trip. So what they do is the crew that was now getting into the van to go to the layover point, they sent one of the staff people out, and they literally grabbed the captain out of the vehicle and says, "We need you to fly this trip to Chicago." Of course, I'm out at the beach having a fun time, and I look, and it was probably a good hour after the pickup, and I said, well, it's time to go back, clean up, get ready for my pickup, which was off by several hours. So I go back to my room, and I shower, and then there's a knock on the door, and there's a security guy there, and he says, you missed your pickup. And I go, well, what time is it? I go, no, it's 1 o'clock here, and it's Eastern time, it's Chicago time. I didn't make that hour thing. And he goes, oh, I didn't miss it. I got another hour before the pickup is. And he says, no, you missed your pickup. Your crew is at the airport. When he said, your crew is at the airport, that was my first inkling that maybe I had a problem here. Oh boy. So I called the crew desk and I said, hey, I screwed this up. I screwed up the time. I looked at the arrival time, not the departure time. But there's another flight to Chicago in an hour. And the flight I was flying was going to go to Chicago. It was going to lay over for about 3 hours. Then it was going to go on east somewhere. And I said, hey, I can get on this flight. I can get up to Chicago. I can rejoin with my crew and I can go on. And the crew scheduler said, well, yeah, that's a good idea. But we need somebody to cover the trip that the captain that you took his layover essentially would have covered. So we need you to stay there. And I go, what? Yeah, we need you to stay for another 24 hours, and your correct pickup time will be based. Essentially, it was the same trip one day later. He says your ticket time will be tomorrow, and he says, yep, just go back to the beach. And I go, I said, do I need to call a flight manager? Am I in trouble? And he goes, no. Just go do your labor and get picked up the next day. Well, okay. I'm feeling kind of bad, but well, do I go to the pool? No, I decided to go to the beach. Okay. Well, I happened to meet up with my new crew, since my good captain friend, I had kind of stolen his crew and I stolen his layover, which is kind of unfortunate, but I met the new crew. We went back and we had a nice little, supper on the beach there. And this time we didn't over tip. So I get on the trip, I continue on, and I complete the whole trip and get back, and I come into the home domicile there at Chicago, and I go and I check my mailbox there. Was there a slip of paper to call a flight manager? No, there was no messages to call a flight manager. I thought, well, what's going on here? Nobody's calling to chew me out, and I kind of screwed up this whole thing. Well, then we had a get-together of the pilots. Well, no, not that big of a get-together. It was a little more small get-together. They used to have, actually, events where they would have kind of a safety get-together, or they would talk about general aspects of the airline and kind of give you the big picture. And it would be a nice little social event that all the pilots of the base would come to, like in O'Hare, which is a big domicile. So it was a nice little event. They kind of did away with those later on when the economy, I guess, got more tight. But at the time, there was this nice layover. Now, I knew the chief pilot very well. He had helped me out a lot. I was doing a lot of ALPA work at the time, and I was a line check airman, so a lot of times I would have to coordinate with him, and we had a very good relationship. And I had just had a situation where a co-pilot didn't show up for a trip. This whole event was about a month later after my adventure, but just the week before, I was going to do a turn. I was flying Chicago down to, I think it was Miami or somewhere in Florida, but I'm going Chicago, Florida, and back, and it's just an out and back, a one-day thing. And the co-pilot didn't show up, and found out, he didn't commute in or something like that. So there's this one management pilot that I knew who was a co-pilot, And I said, "Hey, are you free right now?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not doing anything." And I says, "I need somebody to fill in for a trip, and because they didn't really have time to get anybody out." So I called the crew desk and I say, "Hey, I got a guy I can grab here, management pilot. I'm gonna, he's a co-pilot qualified, putting in the right seat, and the trip will go on time." And we went, and it was great. It went on time, and. As we're going out there, I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm getting a check ride from the FAA on this leg. It was scheduled, one that I was set up for." And he goes, "Oh, thanks," But so I'm telling the chief pilot about how he really helped me out here. We got the trip on time, and it was great. And he says, "Yeah, people miss trips every once in a while. Like people could miss trips down in Fort Lauderdale." And I go, "Oh, you knew about that?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I knew all about that." And I said, I never got a phone call or you anything." And he says, "Well, it's kind of funny." He says, "Your crew was all worried. They thought you were laying dead in a ditch somewhere." And I said, "No, no, no. It's just kind of a screw up. He probably made a miscalculation on the time," which I had done. And he says, just let it go. I'm sure he'll turn up. And sure enough, I did. And it was essentially no foul except for my friend, fellow captain, who I robbed him of his nice 24-hour Fort Lauderdale layover. But everything kind of worked out. No flights were late and stuff like that, so there wasn't any big harm. And it was a simple mistake. And basically, if you got a good reputation and you're not really a troublemaker, I guess, which I wasn't too much of a troublemaker, but I had a good reputation, so nobody got upset about it, except for my friend, and we pretty much just laughed about it, actually, But that's how a simple calculation that had lots of opportunities to be checked caused me to screw up a layover and screw up the layover from a friend of mine. And numerous times it should have been caught because of little things like, I wasn't worried about the drinking time and the other people were, and stuff like that. Should have been caught, wasn't, but escaped unscathed. So that is one of the fun airline tales that you encounter in an airline career. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, found it interesting and informative, and maybe even non-fattening. Who knows? Thanks for watching.